You ready?
Hello, I'm Rebellious Thorn, and I'm going to share my story and journey with you all. It began some years ago now, big issue with the bank, and up until that moment I classed myself as asleep, looked at various sites, looked at what was going on, classed myself as awake, but it wasn't until I reached this part of the journey that I realised I'd been asleep for some time. And what I'm speaking about now is one of the most important books in the world, which is the Bible. Going back to early teens, I was very fluent in Latin and was classed as A-level standard, and was quite a rebellious character then, and that put me in good stead for the hell I had to go through thanks to the banking system. Tried various methods, and some worked to a certain point, but then they changed the goalposts, and what that method is called is legal. So I began to think that there's got to be something else, and I was looking at symbols and the usual, and it wasn't until I was sat in traffic one day that I noticed that the mile per hour sign was white and red, exactly the same as land registry title deeds. So I began on a journey then, looking at claim forms with court, judgments, the wording, and cutting a bit of a long story short, I began to translate, and it was quite obvious with land registry that you never own the house. I looked at repossession of property. Re comes from the word res, R-E-S, that was still used in the court system, and that translated to thing, process, or assembly. Possession, obviously to own, and so it's a process to own. Property, so you look at property, that goes back to proprietare in Latin, I think I pronounced that correctly, that goes back to individual, in division, because on the title deeds I noticed that there were small division signs, price paid divided by balance, address divided by Mr. and Mrs. And so I began the translation, and it was quite obvious that it was a journey of the man, the woman, the vassal, that was being moved from one area to another, and that balance is actually in your mind, because if you take the word balance back, it actually goes back to bank. Then you've got plate, and plate is gold and silver, and gold is mind and silver is voice. And you'll notice in one of the Matrix films where Neo is given a cloth, which is a separation, a sale, and he was given a silver spoon in there, and that was a little hidden code there. So it was quite obvious that the vassal, the man, the woman, was going on a journey and being plonked like stock at an address, a direction. And so that journey went on, and I looked at gas, electric, and I won't go too much into that now, but it looks to me as if the bill has already been paid, because how can a charge be made on water, electric, gas, anything on this vassal earth that actually belongs to someone else, the creator? And it was someone I know that mentioned about the Bible, so I began to read the Bible, the book of truth, and I got to, I think it was Exodus chapter maybe 30, and I thought, I don't understand this, I don't get it, and it was on about badger skins and everything else, and then I realised that the Bible had been written in code, and there's lots of things out there on the internet. The code is if you go 3 words up and 4 letters across and 5 down, this is what you get. We could perhaps do that with a newspaper or any book, but I wanted to translate this book of truth as best as I could. So again, cutting a long story short, I had to look at the words, and that is one thing a lot of us do, is scan read, and we're programmed, we're schooled that certain words are going to mean certain things. And looking at this book, I began to realise even now the variety of words that are about. You can go from one area to another and call a certain item something. Cob, bread cake, bap, roll, and it actually goes back to bread. So what I looked at is when the English language came in, and Hebrew, that was I think roughly 10,000 BC, and the English language roughly 1000 BC, and so I thought, well, hold on, in the beginning, so we could be talking 100, 200,000 years ago, 500,000 years ago, who knows. So I had to go back to the earliest, pretty much the earliest language, Pi, Sanskrit, and then began one of the most difficult, hardest, tiring, but most rewarding, one of the most rewarding jobs that I've ever done. And it's not until you learn and read this book called the Bible properly and as it should be read that you can then realise what is actually in there. And I believe it's only then that you can call yourself awake. And there's nothing in this book that talks about religion. Religion is a process of pledging, of binding. That's to something else. It strictly tells you in here not to. And it's also, once you translate it, it's obvious why we're being ignored, and exactly what's going on. Now, once I had got to the end of Deuteronomy, because I've looked through, and none of it, if it's read properly, can't read it as it looks there, because we've been schooled that certain words mean certain things, so all of it has had to go back many years to what it meant then. Best way to explain that is, we call a table now, but in 100,000 years, it could be called a window. So that's the massive task I've had. What I realised was that there's a lot of names crop up in the Bible: Adam, Eve, Jacob, Reuben, Benjamin, Israel, Egypt, and the names of the inverted commas people. Certain ones have done a very good job of creating these images in our heads, but the names are actually a meaning. It's not a man, a woman. It's not a vassal. It's got a meaning to it, and even as I speak now, it's no good picking the Bible up, the Book of Truth, and reading through it and, oh yeah, I know what this means, because you'll be absolutely amazed and pretty much gobsmacked what's in here. And it's been a difficult journey for me. It's been a massive deprogramming, and I'm going to give you just some examples. I'm not going to go through it all, but I cannot stress enough that you really need to learn this as it's truly written, not as we've been schooled to read it, because you will get it completely, I believe, completely wrong. So we've got Genesis, and I'm only going to give go through the books briefly, but just to give you an idea that it is so important that you become learned knowing of this book, and it's only then that you realise that we are running round like rebellious teenagers thinking we know it all, and hence we're actually wards of state. We've not declared who we are and who we actually belong to. So anyway, we've got let's say, to start with, and this is just to give you an idea, but before I start with this, the word possessed, conceived comes up a lot, and I think certain films have done a very good job of possessed is bad, it's evil, and they always exercise out the demon. Well, demon was actually prior to that demon, which is down from the man, and until we become learned with this book, we walk round with that demon in us constantly. And this book does not allow for ego, know-alls. It's so tight and precise. But anyway, I'm going to give just some examples. For one, in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth, and the earth was without form and void. So I'll go back on that. In the beginning, in the separation, and I think purposely out there has been the Most High and Mighty Lord, God is an inner voice, created the heaven, that's the heaving, the rising, and the earth, the vassal, and the vassal was without form and void, and that is actually unpossessed of the Most High and Mighty. And it goes on with Adam and Eve. Well, Adam, it's Adam, a barrier, a gate. Eve equaled one. So, and then it goes on to tell you that he created great whales. It's a woven and ordered vibration. And he's saying here that this dominion will multiply. And it says that, for instance, and God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And what that is pretty much saying is that the Most High and Mighty Lord, are one in a voice, made the beast, the creation that breathes, of the earth, the vassal, after his kin, and cattle, head. Look at things like the name Capita. It's all to do with the head, after their kin, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kin. Well, thing was originally a process, an assembly or a meeting that creepeth, crooked, corrupt, up on the earth, the vassal after his kin, and the inner voice saw that it was united. So you either have your own inner voice or you have the Most High and Mighty's. And it goes on, and we get to Eden, which was actually originally, if you can just bear with me, because there's so many words to remember here. Eden was originally Aden, which equalled a spread, a covenant, and a covenant, coven is one, and ant originally meant separation. So it's one separates. And then we go on to that a river went out of Eden to water the garden. Water actually went back to weave as one, order, and then it's starting to tell you that there's, it's to do with truth, absorption, the temple, and it goes on. This would absolutely take hours and hours and hours and hours to go through. But the serpent, again, crooked, that goes back to the word crooked. And for instance, when we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, which means we may absorb of the possession, fruit of the trees, truth of the garden, that goes back to boundary, pledge. And if you look at the introduction, I'm looking at the King James Version 16:11. If you go back to the introduction, you'll actually see that it's telling you there, to the Most High and Mighty. And if you read through that carefully, you can see bits where it says it's been written, so we won't understand it. So the Garden of Eden, and these, Adam and Eve, these images have been put in the head of two people in a garden, biting something, fruit that they shouldn't have done, but what it was is, when you look at it properly, didn't want you to unite with evil. And it goes on. We've got, Cain and Abel. Well, if you look at Cain, the word actually means easy to be possessed, and it also goes back to Smith, and since I've done this, I can to be pretty go through those three Matrix films and decode them. So you've got Cain, easy to be possessed, and then you've got Abel. Well, Abel was actually Habel with an H. And it went back to habit, and habit is a possession, conceived, possessed, and so Abel was conceived of the Most High and Mighty Lord, and Cain, that's who a lot are interested in. All the need is from the neck up, and the rest of the body will follow. So he was quite easy to get in his mind, and the covenant says, separate as one, stay with me. And then we go on to Noah, and probably a lot of you won't realise that flood is still here. Now, again, images in the head of a boat and a couple of zebras going in and everything else. Noah, the word Noah, goes back to mental peace, which is a mental covenant. And the flood, if you take the word flood back, goes back again to pluvial rain, R-E-I-G-N. And Matrix film again, just swapping across, always lots of rain, but spelled a different way. And rain goes back to dominant, dominion. The ark's a vassal, and 2 by 2 is strength by strength. There's not enough time to look at how I got these translations, but I can honestly assure you, I've been absolutely thorough with going back with words that thousands of years past. So that dominion and that flood is still here. And we go on to Joseph and his coat of many colours, and I am just going over that yet again, but take these images of men and women out of your head. It's the translation of the name. And Joseph, many colours. Joseph was strength, a power. Many it goes back to the word weave as one, order, and coat went back to COTE, which was a spread. And I'm just getting to the bottom of colour, but you can see that this dominant order is there, and it's still here. And then we go to Exodus, and again Moses. Now that name was, there's been back in time people think it means reed, but that is the only name that I could not take back. It was pretty much Moses, and that was it. And it's saying now, these are the names of the children of Israel, this is Exodus, which came into Egypt. Now, very cleverly, countries have been named Egypt and Israel. But you take Israel, which, if you read the Bible, was originally Jacob, and that is to follow the pledge of the Most High and Mighty Lord. And Egypt, the name for that was originally Ptah, P-T-A-H, which is a god of the underworld, in a voice carrying the underworld, but world was actually originally W-E-R, which was man, vassal. So you start to see that when we go into a court, division, I think that they're saying, well, where are you? Are you above or below? And so we get to Exodus. These are the names of the children. Children was actually they were actually called fruit of the womb. And fruit of the womb, again, possession, conception, carrying the womb. Womb also equals matrix. Matrix and womb equals temple, which takes it back to equaling one again. If this makes it easier, look at the matrix film, he's the one. And then it says that every man, every vassal and his household, his house, temple, one whole possession, came with, and then where we've got Jacob to follow the pledge, the Most High and Mighty. Reuben, Ru is to observe, Ben is son, and we've been schooled that son is, you have a child, it's a boy, it's a son. But going back all those years ago, it's a vibration that can be heard. Think of a hearing. and the original meaning of hearing, heard, was to obey. Simeon derives from simos, and that goes back to separate the senses of the vital force. Levi, rise, ascend. Judah, praise, which derives from price, from peace, covenant. Issachar is to observe. Zebulun was possessed of the most, a gift, which meant possessed of the Most High and Mighty. It's possessed on its own, but obviously of the Most High and Mighty. An interesting one here, Benjamin. This is where I must say you really need to start looking at the words in a lot of Bob Marley's songs, and Imagine There's No Heaven by John Lennon. One of Bob Marley's songs was Jamming. So Benjamin, Ben is son, vibration to be obeyed. Jamming was the right hand, which was the ascended pure power. So when Bob Marley's singing Jamming, and I think it'll help to just stand up for your rights. Could you be loved? Well, we call it beloved, but it's beloved, believe. Dan to judge, and then we've got Naphtali, and it's to proceed forth with energy, force with any difficulties with the opposition. Gad goes back to rod. Now rod has took me some time, but anyway, eventually goes back to club. Chump, which is wooden, which is truth. Asher, enriched, happy, wise, learned, and Joseph, strength. So we can see they're not people, it's actually the meanings. And then we'll carry on through, and there's a bit in chapter 6. I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people, I will be to you a God. So that's Most High and Mighty. Will is the power. Redeem. Re is the process. Deem goes back to doom, goes back to put, which means to cast, order, commands, overhead. You with a stretch, covenanted out arm, which means arm is one, and with great judgments. And I will take you, again, take is to possess something, to me for a people. And I will have the power, be to you a God and in a voice. So that's very, very well worth remembering. And there's lots in here that are telling us nothing shall die of all. That is the children of Israel. To die is to make senseless. So nothing shall be made senseless of all that is the children's fruit of the womb, possession of the temple, the one of Israel. Follow the pledge of the Most High and Mighty. And we've got here where the word borrow comes. Well, borrow actually originally came from the word buru, which is to go under, but it also means to be of two. And you'll notice some of the judgment to say it is ordered, and that goes into 3. There comes your Trinity. So, and again, it says, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. But against means going towards any of the children, possession of the womb of the one of Israel, and that is carrying, is to carry, to weigh, or to move. Israel, following the pledge of the Most High and Mighty, shall not a dog, lust, desire, move his tongue, speak. And to speak, it's got to come from the mind, so it gets that one as well. toward man, vassal or beast, creation that breathes, that you may know how the Lord, the Most High and Mighty Lord, does put a difference between the Egyptians, the god of the underworld, the inner voice of the underworld under man, and Israel, the ones that follow the pledge of the Most High and Mighty. But again, don't rush through this and think, oh, that means that, because to use this, and this is not to be used or learn for when it suits. Oh, I might use it today, no, I might go there and use it. You've got to use it and follow it through your daily lives, because otherwise you're just being an absolute and complete hypocrite. And I think at the minute what we're doing, we've all been teenagers, all know it all, and there's been this book of truth out there that has obviously, which it says in one of the introductions, you know, we're obviously not going to understand it, but what I can't find hard to comprehend is that it actually says that it's supposed to teach this. Well, that's been missing. And so it goes on, and you know, when it's saying it brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Well, out of the house is out of the temple, the one of bondage, which is the pledge, eternal pledge. You know, well, I think we're pledging to the wrong ones at the minute. And then it starts around Exodus chapter 18, and it's on about judges. And there's more, you know, more to it than this. And you know, we get to, moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, Most High and Mighty God, men of truth, hating, I can never pronounce this word, there's me on about words, I'm just going to let someone else do it. I cannot get my tongue round this word. Anyway. Oh God, why can I never say that word? Covetousness. Covetousness. And place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, rulers of tens, and let them judge the people at all seasons, and it should be every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So we go back there. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able. We'll go back to Cain and Abel. Abel was a habit, so it's possessed of the Most High and Mighty Lord, following the pledge. Men. The original plural of man was manes. Men was the thoughts, such as fear the Most High and Mighty God is in a voice. Thoughts, men of truth, hating, covetousness, which is desire, and place such over them. To be rulers goes back to the word pure, of thousands. Thous was the thigh, was a swell, was a strength, and sand was a separation. So it's a separate strength. And pure of hundreds. Hundreds was like a separate, a ruling under a separate order. Rulers of 50s, that's the pure. Sorry, I'm just burning me here. Just remembering all these. No. Which goes back to Jove, God of household, inner voice possessing the one. So that's saying that your inner voice is possessed of the Most High and Mighty. If you're going to judge people. And rulers of tens, 10. Now 10 was actually could be a tent cover, which is a covenant, but 10 was actually X, and you take the word X back and cutting a long explanation down, it's the lungs, it's the voice, the mouth, and the sound that comes from it. And let them judge the people at all seasons. The sea was the shining, brilliant, sun was the vibration to be obeyed. And it shall be that every great matter, great, woven, ordered, matter comes from the word matter, that used to be the word for mother, which goes back to temple, goes back to one. So there's just that one order. But every small matter they shall judge. Well, small goes to unwoven, not ordered, not conceived of the Most High Mighty Lord. So that's telling us quite a bit there. And then briefly on to the commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt have, and have is possess. Again, here we go. Thou shalt possess or conceive no other inner voice before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt is pledge and under an obligation. Not make unto thee any graven, that's oppressive image, and an image is a mental perception. And if you translate sentinels in the Matrix, that's perception. Or any likeness of anything that is heaven above, or any like sameness, sense of anything, any process that is in the heaven rising above, or that is in the earth vassal beneath, which means below, exists low, or that is in the water under the earth, or that is in the order under the vassal. The word water goes back to, if you can imagine getting a triangle and tipping it upside, a pyramid and tipping it upside down, so you've got the widest bit at the top and all the words fall down like an egg timer, back to the basic word and where they all came from. So water came from the word weave, and water came from the word weave, and that is the weave actually came, order derived from the word weave. So you can see all this all starting to join up. Thou shalt not bow down. Bow goes bend, bind, pledge. Bow down, keep up, rise above it. We've all heard that saying. To them, nor serve them. Serve, slave, went back to the word seth, which was tongue, speak. For I am the Most High Mighty Lord. Lord is one. Thy God in a voice. I'm a desirable in a voice. Visiting, and again, visit goes back to possess, conceive. The iniquity of the fathers. The word father, if you take it back, was never used. It was, it originally went back, father, priest, all originally went back to elder, learned. Upon the children, or to explain that one, unto the third. Third is ascend, and fourth, and this is one of the interesting ones, is that fourth goes back to which is the vital force of one. And so it goes on, not take his name in vain. Name actually was Na, me, shining one. His name in vain, in unpossession of the Most High Mighty Lord. Sabbath goes back to covenant, nothing to do with a Sunday. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery, again, we've been schooled with that word. Take it back, and to adultere and further back, and it was actually corruption, falsified, corruption, crooked. And I'm not going to go into too much because I think that you've got to be so careful with this book. And I wouldn't want to think people rush out there, and if you do not know this and do not understand it and understand it properly, you will fail. So you can't just rush out there. And so I'm not going to go into any more translations on that little section there, because I think that I can't stress enough, do not read this as you would normally, because you'll get in a complete tangle. But it's paramount that you want to live your life by it as well. So, you know, if anybody out there does decide to get this, then I suggest that you do put a lot of studying in first. And when it gets into Exodus, I think it's round about 30. I'm just checking now. It starts to get into about 34, and it starts describing breastplates and staves and purple and scarlet and blue. Well, I'm going to cut that all down. But what it's actually doing is describing the body and the mind when it's translated properly. And that's just briefly on Exodus. Leviticus, Leviticus, obviously, ascend. And again, get rid of thinking you know it all, and be as one with the Most High and Mighty. Just in a nutshell here, it's telling you not to separate yourself. You know, goat can be drawn away from the covenant or God of the underworld, again, in a voice of the underworld. It's on about crooked things, it's on about unclean is impure. And it's once it's trespass, for instance, tress was that's it. So tress was actually a rope, and a rope weaves as one. If you think of the umbilical cord, the rope weaves as one. So tress, pass, and pass is to spread, and we need to be that one spread, that one covenant. And you know, when it's about the priest and the tabernacle, the priest again goes from father, goes back to elder learned. The tabernacle is a portable sanctuary. The tabernacle is your body, and it's you know, there's quite a lot in here, but obviously I don't want to sort of blow people's minds with it. It's telling you, you know, don't deal with the underworld, the twisted, the crooked, that, you know, don't go by force towards the Israelites. The Israelites are the ones that follow the pledge and are bound of the Most High and Mighty. It says here, Leviticus, "Ye shall not make yourselves abominable with any creeping thing that creepeth, neither shall ye make yourselves unclean with them." So what that's pretty much telling you is keep yourself away from crooked and corrupt processes, because it'll make you impure and it'll draw you away from the covenant. Sorry, just going quickly back to the commandments, there are not 10, there are a lot more than that, but they've been it's been twisted and very well hidden. For instance, manservant is the vassal of the tongue separates. Maid servant is the bar, the rod of the tongue separates. So there's a lot in there that once you read it properly and understand it and learn it, it's telling you a heck of a lot more. Absolutely amazing what's in here when you do get to grips with it, for want of a better word, because I'll give you another example out of Leviticus. And this is more I was saying, if you don't want to follow this pledge and you don't want to be bound by me, you're one of my children, but hey ho, if you think you know it all, off you go, and this is what will happen to you. The other side, it tells you not to go beyond Jordan, and beyond is over the other side, and Jordan was the crossing of the dead, and it tells you not to do that. Don't cross over to the dead, to the senseless. But this is what's going to happen if you do, and one of them is, and they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones. Stone is an order. So there you go. They'll put another order there, below mine. And he shall take other mortar. Mortar goes back to weave, order. And shall plaster the house. To plaster is to spread. And the house is the head, temple, the one. So they will spread that straight over your head if you don't abide by this book of truth. And when it mentions washing clothes, to wash again goes back to weaver's one, order. Clothes is a covering. So you start to see where it's where it's all going. And it's saying that we will die not, for I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. And if you read that as it is, it's a bit like, But for I, the Most High Mighty Lord, as the power, will appear in the cloud, which is the hill ahead, and up on the mercy seat. Mercy is thanks, that goes back to think, thought. Seat, what do you do if you sit on a seat? You possess it, you conceive it. So he'll conceive your minds and your thoughts. So and when it's on about fire and fire, the original meaning of fire was lightning, and to light is to ascend. And there's so much in here, and I just want to give a very, very, very brief overview. A little bit more in Leviticus. Not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch. So, don't let any of thy seed, you're weaving as one. Who are you weaving as one with? Yourself, counsel. Translate that as opinion. And through the fire, through the ascension unto Moloch, to Moloch. Moloch was another one for Egypt, Ptah, god of the underworld, in a voice of underman. So, and then you've got, thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shalt fear thy God. I am. And we keep missing Most High and Mighty Lord. So, not to sorrow the deaf, nor put a stumbling block. Block goes back to crossbar, goes back to bank, which eventually goes back to the mind and voice. Before the blind, we've been taught blind, you can't see. The blind is the shining, note again in the Matrix, now they're always wearing the sunglasses. But thou shalt fear thy God in a voice, for I am the Most High and Mighty Lord. Stop thinking you know it all. And if you can imagine your teenage kids or whatever, that's just how we're pretty much acting at the moment. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among my people. That's really important, and that's why it's really important to learn this, because it can also backfire on you. you know, oh, I know it all, I know all about this, the Bible, Book of Truth, yeah. And you're going to tell bearer, up, down, in and out, yeah, you're not learned. You know, you are the only person you're fooling there is yourself. So there's neighbour and all that. That does not mean what you think it means, but I'm not going to go into that at the moment. And at this point I'll just mention that I've actually started now I feel comfortable. Still have to keep reading this Bible, but I feel comfortable, and I've hit a few establishments with this, and absolutely amazed at their non-response. One was sent to a bailiff who'd been sending letters knocking on the door for about 10 months, and you talk about run for the hills. I must say, even though I'd studied this and studied it and translated, I was amazed at, you know, one letter, bang, they're gone. So, you know, and it goes on, and then we get into the Jubilee. I know what the Jubilee means, but I'm not going to go into that at the moment, because I'd rather explain that to people when they are learned of this and understand it. But in the year of the Jubilee, in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return unto his possession. And it's on about houses and being sold, and you know, cities. Don't read it, but it all has to be translated, and there's just not enough time. But you know, if you're risen with him, you can be redeemed at any time. But you know, don't assume you are, or fool yourself you are, because it'll be so obvious if you're not, and you're not learned of the 5 books, and then you go straight into where he says don't act to the talebearer up and down. Just here, but the field of the suburbs, a suburb was a group of people under a separate order, and it says may not be sold. That means you've not got the power to possess this mind up here, for it is their perpetual possession. And there's stuff in here where, and again I'm not going to go into it, but where if one of your or someone you know that's of good heart, and it's in here, out, you know, scrap the Mackenzie friend out the window, this goes above it, and it tells you in here how you can help them, and how you can just, you know, you can't take over, but you know, for instance, where you, let's say, get represented, you know, you don't want representing, you want help. And there's sections in here that go, whoa, hold on a minute. It says here, you know, I'm not interested in your Mackenzie laws and all that. It says in here I can help them. And so it goes on. And then we go into the Numbers. And again, we've got Reuben, Simeon, Gad. And I just explained the meaning of those. And again, there's just so much in here. Again, don't read it as it says, it needs translating first. You know, when it mentions wife, the word, there was never wife, it was called helper, which is to hold up, which is possess and ascend. A husband was a husband, and a hus was a temple, which was one, and a band was a bind, a pledge. So you can see how carefully this has got to be read, because if anybody just takes it as it stands, this, I believe, has been twisted and scooped, so we will not understand it And it states again, don't rebel against me, the Most High Mighty Lord. The land that floweth with milk and honey. Milk goes back to weave, order, honey, mind. For they are bread for us. Bread is a separation. Their defence is departed from them. So again, I'm only going with snippets, but just trying to explain where this is coming from. Again, one ordinance shall be both for you of the congregation and also for the stranger. Stranger, alien, country, nation, it's all separate, the separate. That sojourneth with you. So, the original, can only get that back as far as Latin, was se, which is yourself. And journ was a day. So what that actually says is that yourself or others of the underworld, you're obeying that vibration to be obeyed. But it tells you earlier, all this will happen. Sorry, I just need to nip back to the plagues. The plagues are still here. I don't think, they've not gone. Flies goes back to flow, again, dominion. And we've got where the actual frogs were mentioned in the plague. Frog actually goes back to the word flocus, which meant wool. Think of certain wigs. And the word wool goes back to, it was originally called fleece. And fleece goes back to feather, you won't believe, and it's all to do with dominion and commands and the Pharaoh, the temple, the head of the underworld, the head and the voice, inner voice of the underworld. And these plagues, they're a plague to the underworld, but blood, and blessed, that goes back to strength. That's just giving you an example, but all those plagues once translated, they are still here. The flood, the flow, the rain, the dominion is still here. It goes on through Numbers, and it mentions Balaam. Well, think of Balaam, and all that. And they're all to do with Moab. If you see Moab, that means Egypt, god of the underworld. So all going back to the underworld, voice of the underworld, the opposition, separation. And then we've got where Balaam, which is this underworld, he strikes an angel of the Lord. An angel is a vibration, a transmission. So a transmission of the Most High and Mighty, and he's trying to order it. And it makes out there's an ass talking in here. It's a burden. Speaking about the burden, and tries 3 times to strike him because there's this this opening, and it's pretty difficult to explain, but it's saying that this ass, so the underworld, this burden has ordered 3 times, and but this vibration is still alive, and it said, and Balaam said unto the angel of the Lord, the vibration of order of the Most High and Mighty, I have sinned, existed, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease thee, I will get me back again. And the angel, the vibration, the order of the Most High and Mighty Lord, said unto Balaam, go with the men, the thoughts, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with the princes. Again, it's all to do with the underworld. So there's your 3 times. I'm going to skip on to Deuteronomy, and it gets a little bit easy. You can tell, I can even tell now where scripted translators have changed, and but again, very, very careful. And it's saying here, I must not go over Jordan, because that's the crossing of the dead. Again, and I'm going to pause on this one. Has anybody ever been anywhere and they go, I can't hear you, I can't see you, I see nothing here? And this is what will happen. And there you shall, this is telling you what's going to happen. It says here, I'll go back a bit further, sorry. And I call heaven and earth to witness. Witness is a knowing sense against you this day. And ye shall soon utterly perish off the land. Whereunto you go over Jordan, cross over to the dead, the senseless, to possess it. And there you go. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall be utterly destroyed. Excuse me. And the Lord, utterly, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few. Few is unwoven, unordered in number, 1. Among the heathen. The heathen comes from, actually originally didn't have an H, and that means the shining, the ascended. So, and it says here, and they, remember, passed over Jordan, crossed over to the senseless, the dead, cuckoo land, told you what had happened. And there ye shall serve gods inner voices, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat, that means absorb, nor smell, that's sense. I'm going to take a pause there. And before we move on to a bit more Deuteronomy, or into Deuteronomy, just want to hit the word person. Per was near, beyond, and son was the vibration to be obeyed. And again, going back to thou shalt not go beyond Jordan to Jordan, which is the crossing of the dead. So a person is someone who's beyond the vibration to be obeyed, the Most High Mighty Lord. They're not in it or following it. And moving to Deuteronomy, and it's saying here, and thou shalt under obligation or pledge, shalt smite them. Smite comes from strike, beat. You take it all the way back, and you're going back to again weave and order. Thou shalt order them and utterly destroy them. That doesn't mean like destroy them as such. The D is down from, and destroy, structure, stet is that they're down below in the underworld. Put them back there. Don't let them trespass over you. It doesn't say that in that particular section, but tress goes back to rope. Pass. So what he's saying is, or she, the power, send them back down where they belong. And thou shalt make no covenant with them. Don't separate one with them, nor show mercy unto them. Mercy, think, thoughts, mind. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Marriage goes back to rebel, goes back to res, which is a thing, symbol, process. And bell is sound, goes back to hearing, heard, vibration, to be obeyed. So, neither shalt thou go through any process, into any process, keep yourself separate, and you don't obey their vibration. It's the most high mighty Lord's. You know, and it says, thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son. Daughter is the first division, first separation. Thou shalt not give unto his, meaning the underworld's son, vibration, to be obeyed. So it's just giving you an idea of what these words are actually meaning. And then we go through Deuteronomy, and it actually says that we ascend with our own power and our own vows. And interestingly, a vow, the word vote comes from vow, which means to pledge. So, and it's saying of your free will. So you've got a choice, you either stay down there or you rise above that and become one and follow the Most High and Mighty. And you know, it carries on. Again, it's saying, thou shalt not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shalt thy eye pity him. So again, you're above that. Don't consent to it. Hearken, obey. Neither shall thy eye pity him. So again, pity is again, it's unpossessed of the Most High and Mighty. And again, observe can go back to perceive. So it's there's so much in here. I'm just hitting, you know, certain places. Another bit, and every beast that parteth the hoof. This Bible goes a lot deeper because and came from ante, A-N-T-E, which was the first pledge in mind. But we'll keep it to and for simplicity. And every beast, creation that breathes, that parteth the hoof, cleaveth the cleft. It's all on about separating, you're dividing yourself. Keep as one with the Most High and Mighty. And it goes on to say, there shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, that's through the ascension, or that useth divination, divide. And it goes on, a necromancer, that is somebody who communicates with the dead. So again, dead is make senseless. And as we move on, it's saying that, you know, that you can't, once you've risen and ascended and you're learned of the Bible, that they shall not cut you down. For the tree of the field is man's life, for the truth of the field is a spread, covenant is man's, a vassal's life. And, you know, it goes on again, but if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. So again, thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever. And And again, for it shall be, when the Lord, the most high mighty Lord, thy God, in a voice, hath given thee rest, hath possessed, conceived thee rest, mental peace, from all thy enemies round about, in the land which the most high mighty Lord, thy God, in a voice, giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek, opposition to Israelites, and from under heaven thou shalt not forget it. And again, it's telling us here, and it shall be on the day when you pass over Jordan, crossing of the dead, unto the land which thy Lord, most high mighty Lord is one, thy God in a voice giveth thee, that thou shalt set thee up great stones and plaster them with plaster. To set is to put, is to cast, to cover an order overhead with great, that's woven as one, order, stones, weave, and plaster, which is to, it can go back to temple, one, plaster them with plaster. So again, it's your temple over theirs. And thou shalt write upon them all the words of this law. The old spelling of law was Lore, which is learned. When thou art passed over, again over the underworld, that thou mayest go unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, a land that flow, goes back to pluvial dominion, with milk, the order, and honey, the mind, as the most high mighty Lord thy God in a voice giveth thee, and has promised thee. So again, it does tell you in here what will happen if you don't connect as one with the Most High and Mighty, and it tells you what can happen if you do. And it says, the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. So, and the Most High and Mighty Lord shall pledge, make thee the head, the mind, and not the tail. The tail was the hornless, the headless. And thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be below. So I'm pretty much at the end of that very, very, very brief introduction on translations of the Bible. A book that I think we've been programmed to either go against or find boring or mimimoke, because if we really knew what was in here and the translations that are in here, then I think the world would not only be a different place, but a much, much better one. And to end with, it says, and I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evils which they shall have wrought, in that they are turned unto other gods, other inner voices. And that is pretty much what I'm going to actually say in this session, because I've probably covered 1 or 2% in what's actually in there, but to give a very, very brief explanation, that it's a lot different to what we have perceived. I'm just going to questions now.
So it's not a book of religion then?
No, it's not a book of religion. Religion is, again, R-E-S, a process, an assemble, and ligier, and that's to bind, to pledge. It doesn't mention anything in the 5 books about religion at all. To me, that's a man-made word.
Is everything in that book, or is there more missing?
I think there's definitely some, I don't think Genesis, because Genesis is the bringing forth. So I think there's more before it, and I also think in certain places that sentences have been taken out or they've been halved, so that's where the struggles come in sometimes to get it as close as to meaning what it should mean. But I definitely think there's what those sections are. I don't know.
Can we use any Bible?
I think the older the better, because I got this Bible. I also got a modern Bible that's been approved by most of the religions, churches, and Catholic, Church of England, Anglican, and I looked at this and I thought, in the space of, this is 1611, that's 2012, whatever, in that 400 and odd years, they're changing and spinning and twisting the words again, and in that one they've put legal. I don't say anything about legal, legal is at the pledge, because if called to the bar, you can't go over it or in it, so it's at the pledge, and they're putting things in there that were never in here, and they've twisted it again. So I think I've looked at William Tyndale, and so I think the further back you go, the better, really. But it's been written, so we don't understand it, get it anyway till you translate it.
Now, you were saying in a previous meeting where you could tell when a different man or whatever had taken over and started to write. Can you explain how you could see that?
For instance, in Exodus, it goes on to about like man servant, maid servant, his oxen and his field, and and you having to take those words back to get the true sense of what it was saying. Whereas you come into Deuteronomy and it'll say something, for instance, like I'll just find I'll see if I can find it, but it'll be more, let's say, you can understand it a little bit better. Trying to find. Thou shalt not kill, that's in Exodus as well, but it gets a little bit easier to understand. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you. That's pretty straightforward. But you go. I thought there's no wonder it took them, supposedly 1500 years to do this, because I don't know. You might go back to Genesis or Exodus, and that could be so coded. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, that it takes you a lot longer. Genesis, Exodus took a lot longer than Deuteronomy.
To translate,
yeah.
So you have to go further back in time.
Yeah, but by that point I was getting more used to the wording then, and the translations. A little bit here, if I can just do this briefly. For instance, go back to Exodus. And if a man smite the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, that it perish, shall let him go free for his eye's sake. Then you take that. If a vassal, and I'll just go straight there. If a vassal order or weave the observation perception of his separate tongue, or the observation perception of his bar, that it perish, pledge let him go free, which is free beloved belief, for his observation. Well, sometimes you think, is it observation, is it perceive, sake. If he smite out the manservants too, so that's if he orders up the vassal's separate tongue speaks, because tooth, and mentum goes back to chin. Horn, it mentions in here, is head, whereas you might get to Deuteronomy and it actually might say head, but when it's going cattle and head, so and it could be, I don't know, maybe there was some that just thought, I can't bother to, just put it a bit more simple, a bit easier for them. So, but still in Deuteronomy, there are, for instance, there are chapters that you really have to translate, but then you'll go into another one, 2 chapters on, and it frees up again. So to me, that looks like somebody's swapped over. You do those chapters, you do those, and that's how you can start to see it.
So the scripture's been copied and copied and copied over the years, and depending what age they are, it's like, rather than horn, they'll know what horn is, so they'll say head.
Yeah.
For people to understand it in the modern day,
Yeah.
back then context.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's and there's a lot of sayings about as well. Touch wood, rise above it. Don't let them pull you down. People just get that like that. But and I'm trying to think of some more. Don't let them get in your head. There's all these sayings.
Pull over your eyes.
Yeah, pulling the wool over your eyes, and there's all these sayings that we just say so freely. I think when you really start to get to grips.
Well, without giving anything specific, is there any type of example that you could use this for?
Everything.
For those that perhaps aren't quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, obviously, bailiffs, councils,
Taxman.
Yeah. I'm trying. I can't think of anything that you can't, because it says in here, more or less. Right. If you want to go down there in the voice of the underworld, underman, and it even says they'll order you with different orders and rules and regulations. Then. Lost the plot there. What were it again?
Order and regulation.
That's it.
Go down there.
Yeah. Then, but once you're out of that, it's a bit like how can I explain it? When they mention jurisdiction, I don't know. And they go, you see it on some films. They've crossed over the border. We haven't got any jurisdiction there. Well, a border is a boundary, so you stay in that, and it even says in here that it's above everything, and even the ones that are making their own little rules and regulations, I've got to stick to these 5 books and still be under that, which seems to be getting ignored. And how can I explain it? I won't speak about anything that I've not actually, done myself, and because I just think, you can't sort of tell or mention this or make people aware of this if you've not actually used it, not used it, but stood under it and put yourself in. Jurisdiction is to speak in ritual formula, whereas you need to be in the sacred one. So it's pretty much go away. I'm under the highest, commands. You see it with the army, don't you? For instance, they've got their own separate military police and what have you. So it's pretty much, people might think, well, so okay, where's it go from there? And it'd take me way too long to explain in this session, but it tells you in here how it's to be judged, but there's a process to follow. And I honestly, if you go in and out, keep sticking your head in and out, then where are you? Which divide, separation are you on? But if you stay completely, most High Mighty Lords are Creator, Father is learned, Mother, Temple, One. So you're either in one or the other, but you can't use this just, I'll use it, say, for tax, but then I'll go and be an absolute, or don't presume to know it, because, you'll get tripped up.
A lot of those that are aware seem to have a belief that we're going to do some sort of ascension within the next, a very short period of time coming up. And I also think a lot of those that aren't aware have a feeling that something to do with ascension. Do you believe that is sort of what you're talking about?
I think so, because I hear the word consciousness and things like that, but what you've got, or I think you have to look at is, well, what's that? Keep going. And I think, put yourself on the other side and what you're ascending to, what's consciousness, well, what's that doing? But you've really got to know where you're ascending. You've got to study this, learn it, and you can ascend. The underworld ascends, but over us, it can ascend. So where are you ascending to? And I truly believe if you don't ascend to the Most High and Mighty Lord as one, then, well, you could be ascending to the hills. You've got to know. It's a bit like getting in a plane. Well, do you know where this plane's going? Well, no, I just want to go up.
So just to clarify there, ascension isn't a case of us being transported or anything. It's something up here.
Yeah.
By up here, I mean the head.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, that saying, rise above it. And again, I'll just nip back to the Matrix film again. I think there's Trinity and Neo in one of the and if you look at the ship, a ship is a separate vessel, and it's got all the light, illuminating, and I think it's in the third film, I'm not sure, but they rise right up and it's lovely,
Above the clouds.
Yeah. And they go, oh, it's fantastic, lovely up here, and vroom, and back down they go.
When you said a minute ago, just interrupt, you said the underworld can rise above us.
Yeah.
As in, like, keep us down there.
Yeah.
Rather than us rise above that.
Yeah. If you, I don't know, imagine, these pirate ships when they kept all the slaves, again, that goes back to tongue speech, and there's this grid, isn't there? And it's pretty much they're over us, Imagine the deck is the top of your head.
Stopping us from rising.
Yeah. Whereas when you know this, you just key. You've got the key. You're out. You know. And interestingly, on the Royal Courts of Justice, there's Moses is facing north, and north was originally bare Arctic, and that's the constellation. And you look at that, and the constellation.
Ursa Major, Ursa Minor.
Pardon?
Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Great Bear, which is north.
Yeah, and stars are shining ascensions that emit gas, but the constellation stays within the boundary, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think you've got to know, and seriously be aware of where are you ascending, not sort of do it without knowledge. Without knowledge, don't do it without the knowledge.
Is there a possibility we may be being tricked to think we're ascending when we're actually going the opposite way?
Possibly, because I think, I mean, I've searched and searched for the true meaning of the Bible, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't think somebody had already done it, you know, saved me a job. But I think there's for instance, Illuminati, that's the Latin pronunciation, illuminate, and illuminate is light, is to ascend. And just a little clip from Angels and Demons near the beginning, it says, oh, you know, you're coming out with this about the Illuminati, and, you know, they were the learned ones, and they kept getting imprisoned. So I think there's a lot out there that's, I don't know, I think we've got to be really careful.
Do you think, because we were mentioning there about light, do you think it's not what we think it is, as light up there, but light as in a weight?
I think, well, you know, when people say, I think it was used to be on buses, wasn't it? A light here. You know, and that's where you go up. So, when you hear people say, oh, they look like they've got the weight of the world on the shoulders, you know, and I think it's something that you have to sit and seriously think about, and mentally, the light is to rise, you know, is to rise and just rise above the man-made. We've got a much superior power force, and that's what we need to be rising to.
What about, a lot of people will be thinking about riches, but that has been twisted into believing that riches are possessions, whereas if you appreciate what you have around you, everyone's already rich.
Yeah, it's rich is, we've been programmed with definition of rich, and that is, you've got to have this, you've got to have that, you know, you've got to have the other. Whereas when you look at rich in the Bible, rich is to be ordered, to be woven as one with the Most High and Mighty, and poor is to be unordered, unwoven with the Most High and Mighty. So rich and poor in the Bible has got completely different meanings, but we've been taught, you know, that want more, and more after that, and that's rich, you know, and it's not.
Wait, I've got one other question I can think of. Towards the end of the Bible it says the meek shall inherit the earth. Could you translate that?
The meek shall inherit the earth. The strong, powerful, pledge, eternally possess the vassal.
And for those that don't understand what you're saying there,
Is that out the new, that one? I don't know.
I just know it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's pretty much some powerful force, meek, but people think, oh, you know, I don't know, timid and. But when you look at the translation and take meek back, it's the powerful, the strong. Pledge, shall his pledge, or under an obligation. To inherit is possess eternally, the vassal. And who are you going to let possess that? You know.
When you say the strong, the powerful, we're hearing all the time that we are far more powerful than we realise. So would that be that it's going to be us, the ones that are at the moment in a lower area, but because we don't realise how powerful we are, that are going to inherit the earth?
Yeah, but I think because certain, let's say, powers that be, because power and strength, you know, can come from either physically, mentally, you know, and I think that this, why would you want to twist and turn the book so nobody, you know, modern day laws, they're not called ox and sheep, and you know, so why would something want to be twisted and turned so we didn't get it, type of thing? And you know, again, programmed, you know, I'll be honest, I can remember sat in RE, you know, noughts and crosses, board, you know, and is that how it was supposed to be? So you really never took the time out.
I was going to say the same, because with politics, they made it so boring that nobody wants to pay any attention to it until you get to the point now where you become aware of what's really going on, and you realise that the politics is where the perceived power is, and that's why they made us turn away from it. Oh, that's boring. Same as mathematics to do with finances. You know, they start reading off all these figures, and you go, "What the heck?" You chuck that, so you pay no attention. When in actual fact, if you paid more attention to that, you would see that they're actually manipulating everything that we see and do.
You know, it's like the word thing, and we go thingy, but you take that word back, it's a process, it's an assembly, a meat, you know. And again, vote is to vow. So what you're doing is pledging, you're going under an obligation to them. You know, here's my name. You know, because I used to think, how come they say they're going to do all this stuff, and then they get in, and it all changes to do whatever they want.
So maybe that's why there's more than just me and someone else in this room, but the rest are a bit shy.
We can't get a word in.
Maybe that's why they now, in Nottingham for instance, they've now started to automatically put you on the voters register, so they're automatically saying you are agreeing with what they're doing.
And it's you know, what you're doing is pretty much vowing, you know, to them, well, let's do what you want, you know, I'm voting, vowing under this. And you know, I feel like I must mention that some people might think, you know, you know, reading the Bible and all this, but you know, 20 years ago, 40 scene, you know, bring it on, you know, somebody passed me a Bible, no thanks, you're alright. So, you know, but, and I would have never, ever, if somebody had told me that, I'd have said, nah, you know, but I was, and in fact, I think I was asleep until I actually realised, as I say, I've only covered probably a couple of 2%, and it's humbling as well. There's a lot I've not sort of mentioned tonight, but you know, I've mentioned it, haven't I, at other times, and it's I don't know, it's mind blowing, really.
So would you suggest that the Bible is encoded, or we've just become that retarded that our language can't comprehend a simple text?
I think that I think again, going back to being schooled, we are instructed. This is what these words mean, and there's dictionaries out there. This is what these words will mean. You know, but it just stopped me to think. Well, hold on. This, you know, this was written. I don't know. Could have been a million years ago, or and how I look at it is that, you know, you've got all these Israelites, people who follow Most High Almighty, they're under Him, and remember, it's free will that you ascend, and you know, I don't know, say it was a million years ago, but you go back a million years, and then you've got the other crew that think, we're not getting any money out of these lot, you know, we're not getting this, we can't screw them over. But hey, hold on a minute, they're only passing it down from, you know, the father, the learned, you know, word of mouth, few symbols or whatever, and so then it gets to, you know, the plan where let's start bringing, I don't know, they might have brought in just odd ones, and oh, look at them, they're doing it, you know, they're doing it, till eventually that, because if you look at, going back to the Matrix again, they're always in that, it looks like a cave, doesn't it? But it's the covenant, one separation, and that's it. It's a definition of that. It's just all coded, that film, but and you know, I don't know. I think that it's a case of was it 1962? The Bible could be purchased in shops and
sometime in the 60s, I can't remember.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like blooming heck, we better, you know, they've twisted it more, you know, over the hundreds of years. So you think, I've looked at that new one, and this one's 1611, I thought, they've done it again in 400 years. So that is why I've had to take this right back. And I don't think it's anybody being stupid, or it's been deliberately hidden, I think. Deliberately hidden. It says in here you should teach it. Well, we haven't been told about it.
Is it also saying there, if they're going to be stupid, let them be?
Pretty much. Yeah, and it says, there's quite a bit on it that tells you what will happen, you know, like I say, a bit like the rebellious teenager, oh, I know it all, you know, and you go, look, if you do that, if you go over there, now be fine. And that's, it says you will be ordered with a different order, but it's below this, it's under this, and but it does say in here that even that low order has got to stick to this, you know, and even some of that starts going out the window.
So you're saying the Bible is saying knowledge is power, and power is knowledge.
And joining that as one with that supreme power, you know, whether it's the Most High Mighty Lord, supreme power, creator, you know, we might call Fred, you know, but there's definitely something out there, and I just hope, you know, if it's given people a glimmer of hope or an interest, you may believe it or you might not, but that's entirely up to you. Thank you. Oh, sorry.